Hi everyone. 안녕하세요. That's the limited time that I know. Yeah, but as my colleagues is actually updating the presentation, just want to take the opportunity to thank you everyone here for your time, Kita, Alex, Global, in terms of, I think, this collaboration. So it's a pleasure to be here coming in from Singapore. My name is June Bu. I head up the Asia business for LinkedIn Sales Solutions, and I'm based in Singapore. I work with a lot of clients who are looking at expanding either in their domestic markets or international markets, and using our own solutions to help our own customers actually do so. So today, I also have my colleague here, Marion Kim, who will be facilitating some parts of the later part of my presentation, because she's going to be speaking in Korean, which will probably be easier for you to go through the solutions with her. Yeah, but I'll take the time actually in the beginning to introduce what LinkedIn is. All right, while we're waiting, just a show of hands, how many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Wonderful. Those who doesn't, please set it up and connect with myself and my colleagues here. All right, as I'm waiting, let me just introduce to you, I think the next, a little bit more than an hour that you'll be spending with me, with LinkedIn. We'll start with a bit of the introduction of who is LinkedIn and why us. Then we'll go on to basically share some of the insights, what's changing in the B2B selling. And then we'll take a slight break because I think everybody needs that. And then we'll go into basically discussions around, I think, how we are using deep sales, which is a B2B platform that we have, to change the way I think everyone, I think globally, could actually do business using the online channel and using LinkedIn as a platform. So as I was mentioning, I think section 3, which is after the break, we will spend some time to talk about how to gain quicker access to the opportunities that Phil was talking around, which is your lead generation. And then we're going to have a bit of time for Q&A before I hand it over, I think, to Sean for the next session. For LinkedIn, we always create a very fun culture. We like to play games. We like to actually make sure that everybody feels happy when you leave the room with us. So first of all, okay. Thank you very much. All right. So LinkedIn, for those who are, I think you're familiar, or rather for those who join LinkedIn, including myself, we resonate very much to the purpose of the company, which is about creating economic opportunities for every single member of the workforce. And that's a very important thing that we pride ourselves. It is a social platform that everyone is aware of, is professional, but unlike most of, I think, people's understanding, which is that we are actually a data and insights company. And I'll explain why shortly. But first of all, I just want to tell you that LinkedIn is celebrating 20th birthday next week on the 5th of May. And it's a major achievement of ours because when we look at the progression back in 2011, we only had about 100 million members. I think that was just a little bit more than 10 years ago. And today, when I checked the reports before I came in, we are right now at 930 million members globally. 100 million is already above for our India population who is actually on our platform. So for those who are interested in India as a market, you need to be on LinkedIn, yeah? All right. So before I start, which is that although I say that we are a data and insights company, what we pride ourselves in delivering that promise is members' trust. So trust is a very important aspect of how we run our business. And I think in gaining, I think the trust that we have with our members. So we have been ranking #1 as the most trusted professional platform, including beating, I think, Facebook, Twitter, and Snap as the #1 professional platform, social platform, 5 years in a row. Yeah. And that's how serious we treat trust, I think, as importance in terms of privacy and security. As I said, I would like to do a short quiz. So for those, first question, and please just call or raise your hand. Can someone tell me how many members do we have in the USA? Yeah, in the US. So thinking about just 930 million is global. Try to figure out. Yeah. Raise your hand. Yes, stand back.
300 million.
How many?
300 million.
300 million? We would like to get that. Any other try? John?
1,900 million.
1,900. No, we are a bit higher than that. So it's 202. So a little bit higher. Quite close, yeah. So just above a 200 basic mil. And that the additional 3 million was added in the last quarter. Because when I was looking at the stats a quarter ago, it was 199, just below 200. Next question. How many companies do we have on the LinkedIn platform globally? Raise your hand. Anyone? There is no penalization, okay? Yes. 1 million? Is that not low, I would say. Yeah. Next. 58. Are you checking the internet? Very, very close. So our updated figure is actually 62 million. Yeah. 58 was probably a quarter back. Yeah. All right. This is a question. Okay, many people know that we are a hiring platform because you want to come here to find jobs. So do you know, as I speak, how many people are hired every minute on LinkedIn? Come on, over here. We had a few here. Over here. Anyone want to give it a try? Yes. Very, very close. Yes. It will be 8. Yeah. 8 people are being hired, I think, every minute on LinkedIn platform. That's the power of our platform. So as I was mentioning, we do have 930 million members, I think, globally. And we are a data insights company. And with so much information that's sitting on our platform, then we actually hold a very, very strong responsibility, a heavy responsibility to present, I think, the global economic trends and what's happening on the insights, I think, through our economic graph. So this is something that if you search on LinkedIn, this is how we represent our information, which is creating actionable insights. Whether be it is skills, whether it's actually around hiring, whether around how you should be marketing, what people are talking about. We get involved in world forums and in policy making, in creating recommendations of what companies and governments should be looking at for their skills development on sustainability issues. And that's a very, I mean, that's a pride that most of us at LinkedIn actually feels. And we do have 63 million companies globally. Within, I think, APAC, we probably have a bit less than 20 million. And then with about 263 million members that actually sits in APAC. So APAC as a region is bigger than North America and Europe, yeah, which is closer to 220 to 240 million between the other two sub-regions, the other two regions. And the important thing is that it's really important to look at if you are looking at LinkedIn for skills development. I was just having a conversation with Phil to say that, do you know that skills are changing on us every day? Because of digitalization, we're actually looking at changing our skills. And in Singapore, for example, in the last 7 years, skills have changed by about 37%. And in the next 3 years, we are projecting that it will change by another 50%. What it simply means is that even if you don't change your job is going to be changing on you. So knowing the skills that is important to develop as you're getting into the new business, as you're actually developing new products, entering new markets, is really critical. This is the breakdown by the key countries that we operate in terms of where our members are sitting, which is a very important graph to look at because that gives you a sense as to within your own international markets that you are interested to pursue, how much coverage can we give you from a member's perspective? And I'll spend a bit of time to talk about the decision makers that are actually on our platform for some of these key export markets that you're interested to pursue. Our ability is on data. So what it does is that if you're in manufacturing, if you're in IT services, if you're in consulting services, if you're in an AI video generator basically business, we can actually cut down to the industries and to the micro segments. So in Korea, the top 3 verticals that we have with our members sitting is actually in manufacturing, professional services, and information technology. Yeah. And many of them are generally tech-enabled, platform-enabled, because I think they're looking at, from a startup perspective, they're using tech to try to expand and try to scale more than your domestic market. But if you are coming from the, I think, enterprise, which is the large companies, then you have a different thing, because now you're trying to find suppliers, you might be trying to find vendors, you might be trying to find acquisition targets to drive the acquisition of new technology for your business, and also to build your own business going forward when you're trying to expand overseas, like the LG, like our Samsung. These are our clients who are using our solutions and the platform to very actively pursue, I think, their business expansion and growth domestically as well as internationally. We are also able to basically break down the sections into which functions they belong to. So as you know, for each of you who run different business, you will be talking to different people. Some of you who are in the finance side, in terms of maybe it's a fintech, you might be speaking to the finance department. If you're in professional services, you might be looking for business owners, or if not, business leaders. And because we're able to break them down into the different departments, then when you use our solutions well, you'll be able to cut down the time that is needed to find the right decision makers, down to the personas, we call them, when you're looking at overseas expansion. We are also capable of bringing you down to, I think, what generation they falls. And although it looks very simplistic in terms of, okay, in Korea, we have more than about 58% in millennials, and then Gen Z is about 18%. That's kind of very common right now in APAC, because APAC is a very young workforce. And decision makers are moving from the Gen X over to the millennials, and subsequently, I think your Gen Z will come in as the buying community as influencers. But the important thing to take away from this is that as you're moving the demographics, I think in whether you're in Europe, in USA, or in Asia, APAC, then that changes the way you interact with this generation. Because the younger the generation get, these are digital native, basically, members, right? How many of you are millennials here? Okay, great. You see, that's almost at least a quarter to a third. How many of you are Gen Z? Okay, the rest of you don't look like you're Gen X, okay? I'm sorry to say, but yeah, I'm a Gen X, yeah? And I run a team of millennials and Gen Z. So I make the call in terms of being the decision maker, but the people that influences the choice of what we buy, I think in my sales team are generally the millennials and the Gen Z. So knowing how they want to interact, which is pretty much a remote and a hybrid work, is really important. Because if you keep on barking on the fact that they'll only do physical face-to-face meeting with you, and you're not prepared for the conversation to happen, when you're asking them basic questions when you meet them, you will not be in for a good conversation. Because more than 60% of our buyers, we call them, are expecting that you have done their homework on them before you meet them. Yeah. So talent solutions, all these solution lines that you see out there is how LinkedIn monetizes our social platform. So we are a profitable company whereby we do not run social platform for nothing. So we monetize the members that we have through 4 different business lines. First is talent. So for those who are interested in the hiring part, is that we do provide SaaS solutions to help companies to better hire. And then we have learning solutions with the reskilling that's happening, that we call out in terms of what companies are needing, what skill gaps you're having, and then what kind of courses you do need actually to create for your different personas, your different teams, in order to upskill. Marketing solutions are those where you see, it's almost similar to your sponsored ads when you're on the LinkedIn platform. Yeah. So you will see them as being sponsored. It comes up if you happen to be the target personas and they run a brand campaign on you, on the LinkedIn platform, you will see that under marketing solutions. Myself and my team here come from sales solutions. So we are the one who help you actually find the right companies, find the connections that you're supposed to have but you're not aware of, and then also to help you to identify what's the best way to engage your customers once they become customers. So we take care of the entire sales and the customer cycle. All right, next, I'm going to venture into what is changing in the B2B landscape. So this looks, for those who can read, you don't have the issue of me having to go far away for eyesight. this is kind of a linear process, right? Half of the time we say that, okay, you might have to plan your territories, you do your nurturing of your accounts, you find the leads, then you go through the leads, you find the relationship, then you try to sign the contract, you close it, and you try to onboard your clients. It looks very simple, yeah? It's a linear process. Raise of hands for those who think this is the way business actually goes. Okay, raise your hands if you actually say that this is not the way you're seeing your business. It's linear. Wonderful. So we're on the same page. This is how it looks like. Yeah. So this is, I didn't develop this slide. This is done by Ghana. But it simply shows you the complexity of the sales cycle. In particular, you're in the B2B selling. There's multiple interactions they're looking at. Buyers are doing more than 10 channels in terms of they're leveraging more than 10 channels to research, to actually make a decision call, to understand, I think, who you are as a person, who you are as an organization, what value you bring to me. Yeah. So it is really chaotic. And how can we make this simple for you? So in any of my conversations with my customer, I always ask them to ask these 3 questions. Where do you play? All right? Who and how to connect? And the last one is that then how do you engage? Yeah. So the first 2 is very important when you're actually doing planning. Because startups like us, and I used to come from a startup last 4 years before I joined LinkedIn, we don't have a lot of money, right? Even if you have funds that you have raised, you actually still have to make sure you can generate the pipeline and revenue, accelerate to a certain growth so you can get further funding. So it's really important to clarify and to articulate where you play well and to build the books, the revenue streams that you needed. Then the second one, which is the who to connect and how to connect. So as you're doing your prospecting, what Phil was talking about lead generation, you need to know who you need to connect with. Because decision makers for your solutions is the most important person you need to get in front of. But sometimes you may not be able to open the door and step right in. Then how do you actually find the different channels to actually assess the decision makers once you are able to identify them? Then how to engage is around addressing the question of, hey, you have maybe established a contact, but how do you solicitate the interest for them to want to talk to you? If they are customers, how do you continuously build the interaction? Because you need a way to constantly, I think, be able to communicate with them. And that's the important part about engagement, which is creating revenue sustainability and revenue predictability for your business. So let's talk about the insights, where to play. Since we are in an export, basically overseas market, we decided that we'll focus our analysis in terms of our insights today on where LinkedIn, I think, is showing information to help you look at where you're going to be selling. So internationally on LinkedIn, we have 67% of North Asia markets. When I say North Asia markets, we're referring to Korea, Japan, I think Macau, Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan, 6 key markets in this data set. And what we have realized is that 67% are actually selling internationally. Yeah. And where are they selling to? This is what percentage they are. So out of it, the breakdown of the 6 countries, we're seeing 2 things. One is that most of them are above 50% in terms of their overall activities on LinkedIn, where they're selling, which is an overseas market. And then the second one, which is that when you look at the green 78%, let's say for China, there's actually an increased number of interactions that's also happening. So China, for instance, is about 87% actually 84% actually of their usual activity on Sales Navigator is in overseas market. And they have also been showing 78% growth year on year. And China, if you're not aware, we do not operate in China. Strangely, right? It's like, why is this set? It's actually showing that. We operate a hiring solutions called InJobs. But LinkedIn.com still exists for our China members. Most of them use VPN to access. Yeah. Because China, as you recall, is also a high export market. So there's a way to get around, I think, for the Chinese market. And we still have a lot of business, even personally from my own Asia market. I do cover North Asia. Actually, quite a bit of business is coming from the China export. Yeah. But on the Korea side, overall, I think Korea is ranked about number 8 in terms of the level of percentage of business that's done overseas in the overall APAC region. But within, I think, North Asia, it is ranked at number 5th. So 94% of companies in North Asia have shifted their prospecting efforts internationally. To be honest, this shouldn't be a stat that surprises you. Because one thing that we've understood in the last 2 years is that borderless economy with the COVID happening and people being more proficient and comfortable in doing remote working and virtual basic interactions, business have been happening without having face-to-face interactions. So based on a McKinsey study, 77%, I think, of one of their surveys that they did indicated that they're willing to do business that's less than 50K and above without seeing the person, somewhere in a hybrid and a remote interaction. That's a pretty big percentage. Then for those who's willing to do the same thing for more than 500K of business, it's 35%. So it changes the dynamics as to, do you really need to see the customer? What is the customer looking for when you interact with them? And what are the channels they're using, which is effective for you to tap into to communicate your organization value to them? So out of the 10 international markets that we prospect for the North Asian market, these are the top 10 on our LinkedIn platform. It begins with United States, UK, and India. That takes about 50% of the overall. The rest are being spread across Europe. I think Australia, Singapore, which is within the APAC region. Yeah. How many of you are prospecting into these markets? Great. Yeah, that's a lot of raise of hands. And these are the markets where our penetration are actually really high. Yeah. So the activity level that we have on our members is also very high, which means that if you're interacting on your platform and you're building the right community, you'll be able to assess, at least to raise your brand awareness of your organization and yourself as a thought leader in these markets. Okay, next question, who and how to connect? So I took some of these snapshots around some of those key markets that we're talking about. So earlier we have the 10. So we pulled out close to around 8 markets at here. And what the key message that I want you to take away is that when we say who, is the decision makers. And then do we have the directors and above who are generally making the decisions for your business, for your offering there on the LinkedIn platform? And I can tell you very confidently, yes, we do. 1 out of 7 global LinkedIn users are directors and above. So when we say decision makers, we always define them as directors, VPs, CXOs, owners, and partners. Yeah. So that's our directors, decision makers categorization. And then if you want to just hone down into the CXO level, we have about 16 million globally, yeah, which is a fairly high number. In APAC, when we did a general calculation, CXO typically lands at about 1.5% of the overall members within the country when they're highly penetrated. So it is really great because one, you will be able to see what the CXO are talking about, which is important when you're trying to pitch your business and what pain points you're trying to solve for the business that you're targeting. Then the how to engage, please hear what Phil was talking about. No cold emails. Yeah, personalization is very important because you get 1% response rate. Yeah, so it is really, really difficult, I think, right now to do cold emails, EDMs, without contextualizing and personalizing your messages to your customers, and you get the 1% response rate. And then what's important to understand is that your buyers are changing. First of all, they are not spending the same amount of time they used to with you. On the average, they spend about 5% of their buying cycle time per rep. You only have 5%. So that's important to know. Second is that, same as the cold outreach, there's also been a drop, about 30% in the response rate, because people are very tired of receiving all these invitations without contextualization. So it's important to understand that they are exhausted, yeah, of this. And the third thing is that the digital channel is becoming a dominant channel, a primary channel for you to do business. It's not just about communication. It's actually about the fact that they are actually using the digital channel to research, and they're willing to commit without seeing you. So on the stats that I was mentioning, right, that 35% who's willing to spend 500,000, I think, upon the contract value without seeing you, that 35% of that survey that McKinsey did that actually has that. The 77% was actually more than, I think, less than about 50K. So for those of you, I think, if we're looking at that, it's like, how does it change the way you think about go-to-market when you can figure out how to optimize on the digital channels for lead generation and to accelerate your cycle? The last question, which is the how to engage. I always like to talk about this, which is that it's really important to understand, I think, LinkedIn, right? So you have already gotten, hopefully, the understanding that we are a very big platform. We have a lot of members. There's a lot of CXO on it. There's a lot of decision makers on it. And the fact that buyers are using different channels, including, I think, LinkedIn, to make decisions and to interact and to express their thoughts. So as the person that is without the LinkedIn platform, please go ahead and register. But for those who are with, it's actually critical to understand what's the positioning that you're taking when you establish that platform, I think, on that. And that could be for business. It could also be for your future jobs. Because hirers right now, given the fact that we are one of the leading #1 platform when it comes to hiring solutions, hirers are looking at your LinkedIn platform to look at your achievements, what you have mentioned, who you're connected to, who has given you recommendations, actually to hire you. Yeah. So the LinkedIn platform is not a resume. It is your online reputation and personal brand. Yeah. And why? Because 49% of the buyers research on sales, I think, on LinkedIn, whenever before they see you or before they meet you for the meeting. And then 50% of them will avoid for those who have incomplete profiles. The most common mistake that I've seen so far with incomplete profiles is that there is no picture. So think about it, which is that how many of you, whether it's on LinkedIn or on other social platforms that you interact with, will have accepted a connection request cold, someone that you have not interacted before, without a picture? Anyone? Okay, so nobody likes to accept a connection from someone you can't even put a face to. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. Yeah. So, and for those who doesn't have the profile picture, I can give you another stat that LinkedIn calculates. So for those, when you have a profile picture on, just by having that, you have increased number of about 29 connection requests. That's one, versus one who doesn't on the average. And 21 more profile views versus someone who doesn't. So having that picture is really important. Yeah. Then you can also basically, attract new prospects. So what we were talking about earlier in lead generation, because 92% of the buyers, whether you're B2B or B2C, will engage with sellers, which are thought leaders, which is why I would like to focus for this section here about how to improve your social presence on LinkedIn, although there's many other things I can talk about. So let's look at this, yeah? So when we talk about no picture, yeah? Who would you likely to accept? All right, look at it. That's a different, I think, level of the difference, right? You laugh about it, but you know, this is what people are seeing. Yeah. Yeah. So when you establish the LinkedIn platform, you're on a good step. So you're one step forward. Now take 2 steps forward by making sure that you complete your profile. And that includes even describing, I think, what you want to be known for. So you may not have to describe that the fact that I'm the CEO of this AI company. You might want to say that I'm a leading thought leader of generative AI, which is a positioning of a professional positioning. I would, on my platform, I would advocate that I'm an ecosystem advocate because I love partnerships. I think ecosystems are the best thing in the world. Yeah, connecting everybody together in an ecosystem where we can amplify the value that we can deliver to the market and to our customers. So it is what you believe is really true to you and is important. Now we're going to be playing a game, but before that, I'll explain to you what is SSI, Social Selling Index. So all of you will have a Social Selling Index if you are a LinkedIn member. And what it does to you is that for anybody who is as a salesperson, if you have a high Social Selling Index, you generally will be able to reach a quota, I think in terms of better using the LinkedIn platform because better connections, better lead generation. It also allows you to actually have a direct performance correlation to whether or not you can get the connections that you want. Yeah, because the LinkedIn the Social Selling Index indicates how well your profile has been set up for social selling on LinkedIn platform. So let's do this. Everybody take out your phone. Usually I do not allow, but this one, yes. Have a look. So scan the QR code. Yeah. And have a look at what is your Social Selling Index. You may have to log in through your LinkedIn platform if it prompts you out. And we have a gift for this, okay? All right, everybody ready for your score? So I am going to, we do a stand up, all right? Because we've been sitting down for about an hour now. So let's do a bit of standing up. Stand up if you have more than 20 in your score. Come on. 20. Well, stand up. Okay, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, great. 8, all right. Okay, so remain standing, all right. Continue standing if you have more than 30. Your score is more than, great. That's very good. So all of them are still standing. Continue standing if you're more than 45. 1 drop, 2 drop, 45. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have 6 more persons to go. 7 over there, yeah? Okay, great. Okay, more than 50. Still the 7. Okay, 1 down. So we have 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4. All right. Nobody I'm missing, huh? How about 55? Yeah. Oh, we have 3 more left. 60? Great. 65? Actually, you know what? Tell me what? 73? 73? No?
68.
73 wins. All right. Later on, I think please approach my colleague over there to get your little goodie bags from LinkedIn. All right. So generally, I think on the average, we will highly encourage that you get more than 70. Yeah. But it is not easy, to be honest. Very good score is typically about 70. That means you have your above average in the excellent zone. You're usually about 70, 75. Yeah, that's excellent. So I always encourage my client to go for the 50 mark first, understand what's the components of what they're looking for within the social index, which includes the connections that you're doing, the thought leadership they're expressing, the safe leads that you have, for instance. So it's really important to understand how to leverage, I think, the SSI to guide you if your social platform and your social selling presence is right. So when it comes to, I think, what Phil was sharing, he was already talking around, I think, some of the things, what you can do in lead generation. So when you're looking at the branding and the content on the how to engage, there are 3 things you need to take note whenever you're trying to do a post on LinkedIn. Understanding, I think, your industry, talk about your company, and talk about you as the professional. When it is your industry, it is important to express your own thoughts and opinions of the latest industry news. Being able to comment on someone's basically article, being able to express what your belief is. It doesn't have to be right or wrong, it is your opinion. People will know you as a thought leader, you don't have to go with the flow because you might be establishing a new way of thinking. But it's really important to express that within what expertise that you bring at the industry level. The second one is about your company. So after all, you're using LinkedIn to actually do business. So when you're looking at business, then what is the customer value that you're trying to articulate? What is the pain point? that you're trying to talk to the customer about. What am I solving it for? Am I solving for automation? Am I solving for a process? Am I helping you to identify new markets? Am I actually helping you to find the right people? So whichever problems that you're addressing in your value proposition, that has to be clearly articulated and can be done through sharing of customer stories, which is very powerful. So what stories are you sharing on your LinkedIn platform or on social platforms to talk about what you're doing and what impact are you driving in the market and to your customers? Then when it comes to you, it's about you as a person, because you're trying to use LinkedIn to establish your brand presence of who you are as a professional. So when that happens, then who are you in terms of as a leader? What are you interested in? Because we're not here to always sell, yeah? We're also here to actually talk about the fact that I'm a professional, I'm interested in this, I would like to rally a community and participate and perhaps be a champion on topics around maybe sustainability. It could be about generative AI, you're really passionate about it, yeah? So if that's your interest and you'd like to find like-minded people to expand your community, you can use our communities actually to do that quite effectively. And that might bring you other opportunities and other things to think about. So let's have a look at some of the examples of the industry, the company, and the you, which is you as a person. So in terms of industry, I have like 2 examples over here. They talk about gas. This is the managing director of Total, for instance. And then another one is also Total. I think we did more of it at Total because it was an example that we can show how a company can coordinate between industry to company to the person, which is the thought leader. And what they are doing is that they're sharing on, I think, company culture. So it's important for someone to understand, are you a fun company to work with? Are you sustainable? Are you a responsible company? And that will be something around you might want to talk about for your company, which is company events. We talk about your culture. Partnership events. What's the results that you did? What's the learning that you get? Yeah. And then you as a person, so what are you interested in? What did you advocate? Did you support the International Women's Day, for instance? Did you say hi to everybody who is your secretaries? Who was the administrative, basically, day that helped us yesterday, for instance? So you as a person, and what's important to you is important to articulate using the LinkedIn platform. So the next slide is actually just talking about going back to the decision makers. So decision makers, top performing leaders are social leaders as well. So sometimes I get customers telling me that, I don't think my decision maker is sitting on your platform. I actually seek to contradict. Because just now, I've already shown you that 16 million CXO that's on the LinkedIn platform. We can get down even to the country level, down to the verticals level. And most of the social leaders, right, on LinkedIn are also top performing companies where their leaders are actively engaged on the LinkedIn platform because they understand the power of using LinkedIn's community. Yeah, because this is a free channel for you to promote. Yeah, so why wouldn't you use it? The fact that they are active, we have so much coverage. That's the reason why we are growing year on year. I think from when I joined, which was August 2021, we only have 870 million members. Today, more than a year and a half later, it's 930. Which company gives you members jump in that manner so they can tap into the insights of what they're talking about and who you can be connected to? And then 59%, almost 60% says that a business executive presence of social platform does influence their purchase decision. Of course, it's not the only thing that they talk about, right? They talk about what's the commercials, what is the organization value. But when you do have an executive that is promoting the company, leading the company in articulating what the company is trying to solve for, and resonating the message from a C-level to a C-level, it changes the conversation. I'll give you an example for LinkedIn. So LinkedIn does a lot of roundtables. In the last 6 months, ever since COVID restrictions were lifted, I've been in roundtable discussions, which means focus groups, but with C-level executives, almost once every 2 months. And there's nothing that we're doing in selling. We're actually having conversations to talk about What is it that is troubling you in these times of uncertainty? How are you reducing revenue predictability? Because that is the area of sales solutions, what we're anchoring on, and the problem statement that we're solving for, which is that how can we help you achieve sales excellence so your employees could work faster, drive more productivity, get to the right accounts faster, and sort out the issues that you might have so that you can have better revenue prediction. Yeah. So this is where it's important to understand the conversations that you have on LinkedIn platform can change the way you can expand your overseas market, because the customers overseas where you can't see them on a day-to-day basis or even a month-on-month basis, this is a way to interact with them much more effectively. So we talk about deep sales. So just now I saw in Korean words there was deep something. I don't know what it was. For us, we have deep sales. So deep sales is a concept, a proposition that we've launched last year in October. So sales solutions offer the insights to actually conduct deep sales, which means that you can have deeper conversations, you can have deeper outreach to the customers much more quickly, and also to identify the right decision makers. So what we do is here. So going back to those three questions, right? Where we play, who and how to connect, how to engage. Deep sales solve for one. We use the data to generate insights to help you prioritize the markets. How do you do market research? How do you do account research, customer insights? How do you know what they're interested in and when to approach them? Then relationship intelligence is where we mapped out and help you map out and provide recommendations through our AI engine to understand who you need to connect with based on your learning pattern. So you can actually identify your own decision makers, and the more you use the solution, the more it learns who you're trying to target, and the system will proactively recommend who they are. And if you're synced with the CRM system, which generally is Salesforce and Dynamics under Microsoft, then the CRM will also be connected to generate links and recommendations to help you identify relevant personas or people who might have moved companies that is now showing on LinkedIn that they have actually changed jobs, and they might actually open new doors for you because your CRM is a static database. LinkedIn is a live database. And then going back to the how to engage is talking about the branding and what content do you want to provide. So deep sales, in essence, is about engaging the right person at the right time with the right message. Yeah. And with the ability of us, we're going to do that. We are the only platform that's able to do that. We compete with some of the other lead generation solutions. Even in Korea, when I have conversation with customers, they will talk about the agency list. Yeah. First of all, we are dynamic. It's 24/7 updated instantly as the members update. So if someone's changing job, which is very frequent and common in the APAC, we call the great reshuffle, that's pretty much 40%. Yeah. So how can you chase after someone? I think on a static database. So the data itself is dynamic. The second is that all the interactions that is being done can be translated to recommend to you what's the actionable insights. So actionable insights is that, I'll give you an example. We have a functionality called buyer intent that is on our Sales Navigator solution that's part of Deep Sales platform. And what it does is that it gives you a low, medium, and high to tell you that is this company researching on your company? Is this company actually connecting with your company based on your content strategy that is deploying on the LinkedIn platform? And if it's moving from low, you might have to work with your marketing team member to generate more content that is relevant. But the moment it hits medium and high, your sales team should be coming in to try to get in the prospecting upon identifying what's the right decision makers. Yeah, because that's when the awareness of what you do is actually high within the company, and they also recommend potentially, okay, you might have this person that you can connect to. And the last one is the outcomes, of course. So if everything comes in order and it flows through that you can use data to drive your decisions of where you want to focus your energy and your resource, then performance will come. You will have the right pipeline, you have the right kind of customers, which will then effectively help you build the business case for funding. Because funds, VCs, they're always looking for, do you either have the right technology to drive, to answer the pain points? But right now, given that funds are quite dry, what is it that you can present, which is your pipeline? Do you have the right pipeline? Do you have the right company names actually on it? So these are the two solutions that sits on, I think, using the LinkedIn data that we have. We have what we call the planning solution, which is sales insights. And then the execution, which is getting down to the decision makers and the engagement, which is called Sales Navigator. So Sales Insights deals with identifying of the right customers, the right territories. So for those who are doing go-to-market strategy, it's important to understand which companies are growing, which companies are hiring. What is the level of connections that you have between the companies that's showing that this company is ready to connect? That will determine your ease of entry and what's your opportunity when it comes to total addressable market. Yeah. So this is one solution that deals that. Then once you are able to identify, for instance, I think the company I will work with, then you go into Sales Navigator that maps you out the decision makers. Which functions are they coming from, at what level. We have more than 40 plus filters, which later on Mary will share, that allows you to very quickly and dynamically change to show you who are the people that you need to talk to, and then create different account maps that you can share with your other team members to say, okay, this is the account map for all my C-levels of this organization. This is the account map of my project team that I need to interact with if it's a customer. This is the buying committee, basically, account map, because buying committee can be different. So you need to influence different people between influencers, champions, and decision makers. So top performer, I think surprisingly, they spend 10%, I think, less time selling in front of the customer. Counterintuitive. When I first saw the stats, I thought they were joking. Yeah. We do this state of the sales report that's launched every year, but it is true. Because with COVID, it changes the way people want to buy, and B2B buyers are looking at much more qualitative, much more quantitative and deeper conversations when they do meet you, which means that they are cutting down the time, spending a third of their time actually doing research on their own online channels, whichever channels. They spend about a third of their time talking to the people that will influence their buying decisions, including the sellers. That goes back to that 5% just now. And then you have a third of the time, actually they will do, I think, their own, visualization, which is online. So they will go through Zoom, the Teams, they have conversations on that. So that omni-channel and the breakout of the time that you see, which is rule of third, we call it, is important to understand that as the best performing seller, you can spend less time selling in front of the customer. But what you do is that you channel the time towards research. So how can a solution help you preemptively and proactively call out when this company is engaging on the social platform? What are they interested to talk about? What are the CXO actually talking about? What is the CSO talking about? And who do you have to talk to at that point in time to send them a comment to say that, oh, totally, I think like what Phil was example earlier, right? He did a posting on the AMD CEO. Yeah. And the number of impressions and then the commentary that you get is an opportunity to comment if you're trying to connect with him. Yeah. Because once you comment, I call it, they have a rule of 3 when it comes to communication. I have a rule of 3 to engage executives, which is that by the third time I could do a comment, I can get them to connect with me. Yeah. So it has to be meaningful. So last slide on the whole technical part of the deep sales. Yeah. So deep sales advocate on behavior. So a lot of companies, when they talk about lead generation, they will talk about the win rates, right? They will talk about, I can give you the leads and all the stuff. But what we talk about in deep sales is that, yes, that's the outcome, which is getting to a better leads, getting a better pipeline, better revenue prediction. But to do that, you need to create habits of the team that can actually do what the buyers want. The first habit is that being able to very systematically identify the opportunities using data. So which countries, which markets are you trying to get to? Does Vietnam actually, is US the bigger market than UK? Is India actually the market that you should go to based on growth information and headcount, for instance? So being able to do that is actually great from a sales perspective. And then you also help them to develop a behavior around the customer side of things, which is that relationship intelligence that we spoke about. So how can you get them to accelerate and learn and have the system then to recommend who they need to connect with? So that's also another habit, because you can never do a one-on-one conversation and a one-on-one stakeholder connection with a company when you want to do business. We call this trend multi-threading. So if you're trying to deal with enterprises in particular, if your business is doing that, you need at least 11 minimum, up to 20 would be the recommendation of a multi-level to multi-level, which is company-to-company connections, so that you can map out between the executive level to the director's level to the project manager's level. If you're a startup, the customers that I'm dealing with who are mid-market, we need at least 6 points of contact. And I will have at least 3 of us in my team that is multi-threaded into the mid-market account. So it's not specific to enterprise. Multi-threading is actually what is needed in order to secure the customer on a relationship perspective. And the last one, of course, is just about using relationship intelligence to identify what is the fastest way to get to that person. Yeah. So can you use your connections within your company to make a warm introduction, which is the most effective? If not, do they have a common alumni that you all can talk about? Could you actually use another team member actually to do a recommendations and introduction to you, even though you're not personally connected? So there's a wonderful thing we call Team Link. When you use the deep sales solutions, even though you don't subscribe to Sales Navigator, in terms of your colleague, you can tap onto their network. So for instance, I might have my whole team sales doing sales solutions, yeah. But then my HR, my CEO is not. But I can use their network through LinkedIn Team Link to use their network. And that's part of the solution offering. Okay, we're going to take a 10 minutes break. However, I just want to call out one thing. The code that you see here is actually for 2 purposes. One is that we are going to solicit feedback of how you feel about the presentation, I think, today. And then the second thing is that there's a prize that goes with it. All right. We are going to select out of those who submitted, I think, the survey, 4 prizes to give out. And that will also be from my colleague over there in yellow that we surround. Yeah. But for now, I think let's take a short break, about 10 minutes. It's 3:27. Could we come back in about 10 minutes, about 3:40? Then we can continue from there. Okay? Thank you.